Have a nice day, dear students. Today I present hydrogen gas as a fuel in carbide and nitride-based Maxene material. Research topic: hydrogen gas as a fuel in future application. And research topic: the condensed matter physics. Condensed matter physics deals the material at the nanoscale by two methods. One is theoretical and other is the experiments. But here I am present and demonstrate how theoretical point of view how can hydrogen gas store in carbide and nitride based Maxene material. Before going to explain the mechanism, I am interested to explain the past, present and futures, why we need to store the hydrogen in metal hydrides or maybe in Maxene. But the major focus I only here is the Maxene materials. In the past, people and all over the world, people use fossil fuel and coal and natural gas as a source of energy, and it called the major source of energy in the past. And still, we also use fossil fuel and coal and natural, but have some problem like emission of carbon dioxide and some environmental problem, pollution. Similar like explain the advantage and disadvantage of the fossil fuel. Advantage source of money, but problem again transport, longer transport, and many countries finds fossil fuel a lot of resource in his country or but to extract the fossil fuel from the earth is problem, is a time consuming and longer times. Similarly, industrial emission of carbon dioxide, here you show the advantage and disadvantage, and environmental pollution, exhaustion of the resource, limited resource, economic risk, and health impacts. Similarly, the political issue like Iran, USA, and many others problems related to the transformation of the fossil fuel from one country to another countries that have a huge impact on humanity and in our earth. That's why researchers and scientists move to the renewable energy resource like solar panel, solar cell, photovoltaics, and wind powers and thermal energy and thermal power, tidal powers, biogas and hydroelectric powers. And these are the resource of green energy without the exhaust of the carbon dioxide. But this production of energy by this method is very low. However, solar cell until have the efficiency 27 or 29% to produce the electricity from the sunlight. And research community also work on solar cell and photovoltaics to enhance this efficiency up to the maximum value. Similarly, and all the resource of energy is hydrogen is a fuel. Mostly, how can hydrogen use fuel as a fuel in the future, like in aeroplanes and vehicles and ships and industry and households? To understand this thinking, our nature have 70% waters exist on waters. If water is hydrolyzed by using the solar cell, first of all produce electricity by the solar cell or maybe wind powers, and then hydrolyze the hydrogen water and the sea water from the sea. We take water from sea and hydrolyze, maybe make some big instruments that can easily split the hydrogen and oxygen and produce hydrogen gas and oxygen gas, and then can be stored in cylinders like cylinders. But here the major problem to store the hydrogen gas not stored at the room temperature. To store the hydrogen gas, we need very high temperature, okay? Very high temperature. This is a problem. And others, the temperature is after using this hydrogen as a fuel, we need a high temperature to dissociate the bonds, and this is a problem. And similarly, hydrogen only store in molecule, not in individual atom. Why? If hydrogen atom doesn't exist in individual form, is expensively suddenly explode without the ignition. That's a big problem. You read some paper from Global Scholar and check what the problem to store the hydrogen. But research community finds some useful way to store the hydrogen, like the metal hydrides, or some hydrogen molecule can be trapped in metal hydrides. But again problem, dissociation temperatures and the in metal hydride hydrogen gas mean molecule is limited store in these hydrides. Like capacity of the metal hydride is very high and the storage of hydrogen is low. That's a problem. But research community also try to enhance the to enhance the storage capacity of hydrogen in metal hydrides. A lot of metal hydrides are used, like single perovskites, double perovskites metal hydrides, or maybe some doping way in metal hydrides to enhance the storage capacity. Why we need to store the hydrogen? Because hydrogen is gives the energy without source, without the emission of carbon dioxide and other pollutant. That's why hydrogen gas is a green source of energy. But hydrogen molecule is not ignitionable. But hydrogen atom give the energy. And to dissociate the bond in hydrogen molecule, we need energy. If we need energy, if we provide much energy to break the bonds, then we is not sustainable points. Okay, we need some a very low energy that easily break the hydrogen bond, and the one the hydrogen bonds break, the hydrogen atom is ignitable. Okay, intensely ignitable, that give the energy to the engine of car, engine of aeroplane, engine of ships, or maybe use in our soul's purpose. To understand this thinking, we go next slides. Hydrogen storage in Maxene can be studied by using the DFT by quantum Expresso, and then find that some cohesive energy, and then do either material, if I store the hydrogen in this material, if the material is stable or not. To understand this thinking, we go next slides. In the past, research scientists found some rules how can store the hydrogen, physical shape or material shape. In physical shapes, if we make hydrogen gas from the sea waters, and we are able, it is not our topics here, how can produce the hydrogen gas from the sea. Here I am only talk about the storage, how can store the gas in materials. If we produce, research scientists produce gas from the sea, because our earth exists 70% on water, okay, and 30% on the lands. To understand this thinking, compressed gas, very high we need to compress. If we say store the gas in cylinder, we need very high compress. Liquefy gas need much higher temperature. There's a broad problem. Liquefy hydrogen is also a problem. When we need high temperature to convert from the liquid compressed gas to liquid. Then okay, then research scientists taught about the material base metal hydrides, called the metal hydrides, like you see sodium aluminum quaterhydrides, sodium aluminum, like this a very lot. In this material, how can hydrogen store or hydrogen molecule store in in metal hydrides. To develop such a structure that make weak bonds with material oxides or with metals, and the molecule is sustained within the metal hydrides. But here I am not interested to explain how metal hydrides store the hydrogen. I am only explain the how can hydrogen molecule store in Maxene. Okay, this is the graphical structures. This temperature, like this temperature and vertical cohesive energy. A lot of metal hydrides are used in the past to store the hydrogen, but have some research point of view questions, and some question about the sustainability, some question about the storage capacity, some question about the cohesive energy, temperature, and some like high temperature required to break the hydrogen bond with the metal hydrides is also problem. But here I'm not discuss this metal hydrides. The main focus is on the Maxene. Why hydrogen single atom is not exist? Because hydrogen is highly ignitional without the ignition anything. Hydrogen single atom spontaneously ignitional like other material. So sodium, potassium, rubidium and cesium is not ignitional, but hydrogen atom is ignitional. Therefore, types of the material called the Maxene, the class of the Maxene are the different empirical formula like M2AX, M3AOX. What is A here? Explain. In periodic tables, M is scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, deuterium, zirconium, rhodium, molybdenum, hafnium, tantalum, tungstens, and A aluminium, silicon, like these elements, and X is the carbon nitrides, and T is hydrogen, oxygen, chlorine, and fluorine. Maxene have the layered structure. Why we prefer the Maxene compared to the metal hydride? Metal hydride surface is very limited, okay, but Maxene have very large surface on which Maxene carbon layer and zirconium layer and titanium molybdenum layer have step by step. Similarly, what the process? How then, due to this large surface area, Maxene is much preferable to store the hydrogen as compared to the metal hydrides. But a lot of research community work on metal hydrides, and some research community work on the Maxene to store the as a storage of hydrogen molecules in Maxene. This is the mechanism how can store the hydrogen molecule Maxene. Like this is the supercell of the zirconium carbon oxide. This is the supercell of zirconium carbon oxides. You see the first layer is oxygen. Here in this pictures you can clearly see the red atoms show the oxygen atom, and second layer is zirconium, and third layer is carbon. You see by yellow colors, and again silver color show the zirconium, and again oxygen. The method, the computational mechanism summary. I do this picture by using quantum Expresso mechanism input file, pristine Maxene, like pure Maxene. Here is the front view of the Maxene, this structure. I make a file and using the Vista software check the atoms. Okay, this is the pure Maxene also, and is also pure Maxene. You see this is a layer of oxygen atom similar like this, but here it is a supercell, but here is a single cell, not the supercell. That's why I look like this. This is the oxygen layer, and the second layer is zirconium, like this zirconium layer, and the third layer is carbon, like this, and fourth is zirconium, and last is again this oxygen. this basic knowledge related to the physics and chemistry provided to understand how what I do and what I to do new in this periodicity magazine. Like if I replace oxygen atom with hydrogen, okay, yes, it is a point, it is a way. If I replace oxygen atom directly with the hydrogen molecule, then the bonds between the zirconium and hydrogen is very strong, and the physical states of zirconium is not the Maxene. That's due to these facts. We go to sites the zirconium to add the lithium in zirconium, pure Maxene, zirconium carbon oxides. How? I put the lithium atom, a lithium atom on the surface of oxygen. Okay, what happened if I place the lithium atom on the surface of oxygen below and above in Maxene? This is, you see, this is the same picture like this, but now what I do, I place the lithium on oxygen atom, okay, near oxygen layer. What happened when I placed the lithium on oxygen layer? In this situation, lithium ion have a valence electron. The physical state said that one lithium atom uh, give its valence electron to the oxygen due to the highly negative oxygen, highly electronegativity characterization of oxygen. Lithium give its electron to the oxygen. Okay, in this way, lithium atom become polarized and get not polarized, become the positive charge, not polarized. Due by giving the electron to the oxygen, it become positive. But because the size of lithium atom very small, that's why the polarized no lithium ion have a spherical charge. This is the front view. It look like similar like the graphene. Here you see in this structure look like the graphene, and this is the top view how lithium ion plays on oxygen layer. In this situation, this positive becomes a positive charge, and what now I insert the hydrogen molecule near the lithium positive or lithium charge. In this situation, like this is the hydrogen molecule. In next figure, this is the top view of hydrogen insert in pure Maxene with addition of the lithium atoms. And this is the further pictures. You see the blue lines and the blue dots show the hydrogen molecule. This is the molecule, hydrogen molecule. This is the hydrogen molecule. This is not single hydrogen. It is also molecule. Is also molecule, not single atoms. No, it's not single atom. It's molecule. Like it had a bond like this. Okay, but because here I'm not present the 3D. If I present with 3D, I show this is also molecule. 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 Okay, but the bond, I place I insert the hydrogen molecule on the top of near the lithium positive lithium charge. In this situation, because lithium have a positive charge and have spherical shape, polarize the hydrogen molecule. One hydrogen molecule is polarized, but not break the hydrogen bonds. Polarize the hydrogen molecule. In this situation, the bond between one hydrogen molecule is polarized. The bond between molecule may be extend from 2.01 angstrom to 2.04 angstrom. Little extent the bonds between the hydrogen molecule, hydrogen atoms. you see like this atom is slightly increase, partially positive charge and partially negative, because the lithium ion is positive, have spherical positive charge due to a lot of hydrogen molecule cling the lithium ion, positive lithium ion, or make a cluster across lithium ion, okay, molecule. But the bond between lithium ion and hydrogen molecule, because hydrogen molecule is not break up, hydrogen molecule not make a bond with lithium, because hydrogen have only one electron and make only one bond that already make with the neighbor atoms, okay. But this molecule is polarized, okay, by the electrostatic interaction of lithium positive charge. When this cluster of hydrogen molecule is start to gather lithium ion, this scientific way give hints hydrogen can be sustained with the lithium ion in the form of molecule by a strong van der Waals force of attraction with lithium ion and hydrogen molecule between them, and hydrogen stored in Maxene as a molecule, and this thinking hydrogen may be stored in Maxene. Okay, hopefully you understand this mechanism. How can one molecule, but in future, if we if we give this a little energy to the structures, here the bond is break and the bond is also break. One bond is break, then produce a single hydrogen atom, and the single hydrogen atom causes to produce the highly explosive energy which used in aeroplanes, or maybe in automatic vehicles, bus, and some berry ships, okay, ships, and maybe also used for household purpose. But problem is that still scientists also made some trains or cars that work on hydrogen fuel, but every person is not accessible, because the most costly method to sustain this technology. Therefore, these research fields need some work so that every person access this technology without without the high expensive price. We need to do some research on hydrogen fuel as a gas and how can store the material. Okay, you read the paper, most read paper and understand what happened in futures.